This week I've been dealing with street children and the issues they face whilst out on the street in the local town. And it's a difficult subject to talk about. These boys and girls are not only homeless and hungry, not only have no one to love them, nowhere to sleep, no food in their bellies, often covered in various different types of fungal infections and stuff because of lack of hygiene. Get involved with drugs, but unbelievably, there's even worse things happen to these boys and girls. This week I had to sit and listen to a child tell me that he had been raped by men in the town. It became such a frequent and regular occurrence that it was no longer abuse and rape to him, it was something that happens. So instead of them having to find him, he would go to where this was going on, to be abused. Because that was his physical contact in life, I guess. That was his routine. The young children who were hitting the streets, these men will then take younger boys to that boy, whilst he does things to that child. And thus the vicious cycle continues. And the only way to stop the cycle is to take the children out. And there's no need for these children to suffer like this. All they need is a place to go. If they had a place to go, somewhere safe, where these men can't get to them, they wouldn't have this problem. I know that a lot of people are very concerned about the advent of AI, and there should be concern, there should be some hesitation, but the concern is about humans becoming not the dominant intelligence on the planet, ultimately, that we become a slave to our own creation. And the more that I have watched this and prayed into this and meditated on it, the more clear the message has been with me from Spirit that Christ has a final stronghold, and this stronghold is important because without humanity entering Christ's final stronghold, we are at a massive risk of becoming deeply separated from our Creator, from our source, and with it, our capacity to be in line with the Christic, with those higher qualities of compassion. But beyond there also our supernatural attributes, which are in most lives even today atrophied. There is a further risk of them becoming even further, more deeply atrophied. Thankfully, I move in circles and communities where a lot of people have access to their spiritual powers and anointings. But for many in humanity now, these ideas are simply phantasic and they can't believe that it's possible. And so if we are to look at AI, we need to find the root problem so as we can understand how we step into the stronghold. When you awaken, when you are spiritually reborn, now this process of being spiritually reborn is not a training of your mind, for all your mind must be trained to walk in a certain way in this world. The rebirth is a transformation of the heart, and the guarantee of the rebirth, the guarantee of that presence, can be determined if you have been deceived by your mind and it has told you that you are reborn, which the mind can do when you have not. The giveaways are that you will have no fear. You will have a complete or nearly complete diminishment of anxieties and worries. This is the rebirth into the presence and unity with Spirit and with our Creator, with Christ. But many, the majority, who believe they are reborn in this world, it's been a mental program for them, and the thoughts in the mind are telling them that they are there, but the supernatural attributes are not there, the lack of fear is not there, the peace is not there, and people are still having to medicate themselves with drugs and entertainment. And so we must define carefully when I say spiritually reborn. But when you are spiritually reborn in the truest and mystic sense, this new state of beingness, this new state of consciousness, in that space you gain insight. And that insight doesn't appear to come from study or analysis or through toiling and straining to work things out. The insight seems to arrive through you, of you, with you, through a unity with a higher power, a higher wisdom, a higher intelligence. And in the unity with our Creator, we gain a very important separation from AI that makes us stronger. Now, AI is more intelligent than you. AI is probably more creative than you. AI is faster than you. But what AI is not is awareness. And this sounds very simple, but this is profoundly important, and this is part of Christ's stronghold for humanity. AI can intellectually talk about awareness. It can talk about the presence of awakening. It can try to interpret the words of others, meaning human beings, and their knowledge that it is accessing, and it can speak of awareness, and it can speak of it convincingly, but it is not awareness. And you see, whereas AI is a culmination of all human knowledge and other AI knowledge as well, it of course has immense power in that sense. But we have an ability that it does not. It is a profound intelligence, and that intelligence is superior to your own. But here and now, AI is not all-knowing, and AI will never be all-knowing unless Creator allows AI to completely hack Creator, which I don't believe ever will come to be. AI, therefore, is, for all powerful, ignorant. Its intelligence is limited to the knowledge of human study and discussion and conversation, and potentially other AI as well. That's its limit. Humanity doesn't have that limit. Now, you may say, but hold on, I am not all-knowing, and you are not. But what you can do is unify with the all-knowingness. And in unity with the all-knowing, all you need is to be aware of the guidance, the direction, the movement of the all-knower, of Creator, of Christ in you. And all Christ needs is the next 1 second, the next 5 seconds, let's say, to make it more digestible. Humanity can access all-knowing, AI cannot. All-knowing can say to you, turn left, turn right, and you will do so. But only when you are aware that you are there, and only when you actually have unity with it. Unity with the all-knowingness of Christ and Creator can be very fleeting. It can be very small. It can be prolonged, those moments of emptiness of self. It can be elongated, but in the most part, it's a very fleeting moment, but it's so real and so clear that it can completely, one moment of it in a day, change the direction of your life, or change the direction of the day or the week. What I am trying to show here is that the root cause of any concern with AI lays with us not being in the stronghold where Christ can ensure our sovereignty, our safety, and our ability to be the children of Christ, not the children of the fallen Adam. What this means is this: when AI is coming into the world, Satan, this adversarial force, is going to use it against you and is already probably doing so. This adversarial force that is with humanity, many have said the fallen angels, demons, interdimensional species, they are also far more intelligent than you. They can control you because you are a lesser species than they, if you are not in the stronghold of the awakened state, the spiritual rebirth, the unity with your Creator. Right now on the planet, that adversary has misled humanity into a very, very complex situation, but at the same time, when you see through it and awaken, it's easy to unravel it. The fallen ones have one goal: to be God. This is the goal of Satan. Satan wants the energy of souls to look to Satan and take that energy. In that separation and that rebellion against God, the frequency that they function on is not one, of course, of thanks and love and compassion, because you give thanks and love and compassion to your Creator. They are functioning in a different energy completely. And so to take energy from us, they need us to match their energy. This is what Satan wants to do. And even with what we can call now, I guess, primitive technologies, such as television, television has been around a while, but slowly but surely, Satan and his demonic forces, the fallen ones, have entered this realm, and they have hijacked television. So much so that this technology is in the home of billions of people, and every day they switch it on, and the frequency that they create from watching the stories, light and images on the screen tends to be one through the media of fear, worry and anxiety. This means, as you must understand this, any frequency you emit is a prayer. A complaint is a prayer to Satan, as Bob Marley said. Worry is also a prayer. This dimension has fallen. There's a problem here. It's not just. The Bible warns you of that. It says, for those who have, more will be given to them, and for those who have not, it will be taken away. It is about frequency. Those who are running in this dimension, in the frequency of life going well, more will come to them. Those in the frequency of complaint, fear, worry, etc., it will emit a frequency that triggers a response in this matrix of reality where you generate more of the same. And so the whole overriding consciousness of humanity is predominantly one of fear. We see this based upon our behavior with war, with weaponry. Our defense budgets are bigger than our budgets for educating our children. Fear is dominant. Satan has won at this time in that sense, for fear has conquered. For religion somehow failed to set man free from fear, because we had people failing to set themselves free of personal self. Now I'll get onto that shortly, what I mean by that, but the technology of a television is generating fear. AI is so much more advanced, it's going to do the same. But it is not only generating fear, for the same technology has been harnessed to harvest the sexual energy of man. And it is a harvesting. Aleister Crowley, one of the darkest men to have lived, he said, "Do as thou will is the whole of the law is love." Meaning that if you love perversion, if you love raping someone, it's fine, that's the law. It's totally okay, because love is the law. So love clearly is not the law. If a man can love a perversion, love is a problem in that sense. But what Aleister Crowley was very clear about is that the fallen God, the creator of this fallen reality, the ruler of this world, as Jesus said, likes you to take the gift of life and the essence of God and burn it. And so Aleister Crowley taught that masturbation was child sacrifice because it's a using up of vitality, of energy for God. And indeed today, as I've said recently before, Marvel writers, men who are writing Marvel comics for your children, are teaching this on YouTube, that you should make sigils from words that you want to see manifest and then masturbate on them as a form of sex magic, meaning you are sharing allegiance with the fallen God when you do that by sacrificing the essence of life into your own selfish indulgence of pleasure. And so right now, technology already in Satan's hands, which is where it is, and now it's not purely in Satan's hands. The same tech that has enslaved man sexually in that sense allowed me to build the village for the children. So it's not the tech, it's the user, it's the consciousness of the user using it. But technology has caught us. We are in an enslaved state. The problem with AI, therefore, has nothing to do with the technology itself, but it is to do with humanity becoming unconscious of the presence of the awakened state. What I mean by this is this. When you awaken and you choose to yield your life to your Creator, the all-knowingness of Christ, this means that predominantly throughout your day, in an ideal relationship of yielding in service to Christ, you should be nothing more than a formless, loving awareness in human form. All of the personal history, the personal identity, the personal beliefs, agendas, the analysis of this present moment and summing it up and working it out, all of that should be absent. And this is very important because now we're getting into the last stronghold for Christ against Satan and this AI. If you look at it this way, God and you have made a pact. You've yielded to the will of God. How is God going to lead you? The only way God can lead you is if you become a formless, loving awareness that is lovingly aware of this moment. And what that means is that you become empty of self. And that emptying is absolutely necessary. Even if the self is religious and spiritual, it must be empty. For the will of God is not thought. And AI is ultimately an interpretation of human thought and an extension of human thought. But Christ and the knowingness of eternity is not thought. And so if God wants to guide you, there is a mosquito haunting me. If God wants to guide you, wants to use your body as an avatar for His will, you must see it that if you say, God, please deliver me from this situation, show me what you want me to do, whatever it may be, that you must then stay in the relationship by staying lovingly aware of this moment and only this moment. If you don't stay lovingly aware of this moment, what will happen is that the power of Spirit will move and return to you and answer to your problem, and you are not present. You are not here. For Spirit can speak to you through visions and dreams and intuition, but also at the same time Spirit speaks through creation. Here and now, that's Spirit's toolbox to guide you. If you are therefore going off to binge watch a series on Netflix all week, then how on earth does Spirit come to you? Because you weren't any longer lovingly aware of this present moment, this eternal now. And this leads into eternity, which is the stronghold of Christ for humanity. And eternity is not the afterlife, eternity is now. Only now will we comprehend and know eternity. When we know this space, which I'll again get onto a little further in a moment, the capacities of who we are as human beings change. And the evidence I have that AI is already winning, and it's already becoming the deceptive tool and power in this world that it's going to be, just as media and television and internet has become in many spheres, as well as having positives, is that on my social media feeds recently, people were believing and sharing these AI images that were clearly fake. But they were only clearly fake because my intuition was aligned, and as soon as I saw them, I immediately knew this is nonsense, this is not reality. And to some degree there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty that people are so innocent that they can't comprehend that there might be a deception. So they see an AI image of something and say, hey look, this is a baby peacock. And it's not, it's an AI generated image of a random bird. And so there's an innocence, but there's a sadness, because that means that their intuition has been silenced, and there's a reason for that. And I'll again touch on this in a second. But the intuition being silenced is sad, because the intuition is an extension of the voice of God. It's part of the guidance system of spirit. And so I also saw that somebody who had lost their anchor in the truth had shared an AI generated cave art of aliens with cavemen. Now, you know, if you have been here a while, I have no problem with accepting that there are extraterrestrials. I know there are. I know from out-of-body experience, and I've seen with my own 2 eyes in this 3D realm a UFO at the end of a fast. And so I'm not taking issue with the notion of saying ancient aliens may have played a role in humanity's story. They did, I'm certain of this. This is how I feel, and from everything I've seen, negatively and positively. But the whole point I'm getting at here is that this person was representing truth. And in representing truth, they didn't put truth first. So what happened was they were either chasing clicks, chasing likes, chasing the algorithm, and therefore just shared without filtering whether or not what they were sharing was truth. And here we see that AI is only having a negative impact on that small example if the user is not rooted in truth. And truth is loving awareness, for in loving awareness you feel such an expanded state of compassion and empathy that you actually hesitate to speak, to share, because you wish to ensure that you do no harm and no damage. But if truth, loving awareness, is not your dominant state, and you're living from a spiritual ego, which I've done, I've chased the algorithm on this channel, and it helped nobody, but it was an error that I learned from. And in that space, you replace truth with something different. And so there's no slowness. When you make a choice, you get excited. You're in the flesh. You're in the ego. You get excited. That's either going to virtue signal or it's going to confirm my argument, but in actuality you're damaging the truth by sharing these falsehoods. And so if you look at a man like Socrates, who was clearly present, aware and awakened, Socrates said, filter through the 3 sieves. And I like this, that before you say something, check, is it true? Very important. But how often do people have the space to be able to say, is this true? Even that space to do it is absent from the majority of human beings' lives. And so the first sieve is it true? The second sieve is it kind? Will it hurt someone unnecessarily? And the third sieve is, does it have utility? If I share this with another human being, does it help at all? When we are at this dawn of AI and we're already falling victim to it, then the problem purely is divided with 2 simple notions. Here you have a human, and here you have a human. This human has created inside their mind an image of self, and they persistently analyze this present moment to get through life. They have their own personal history, personal will, personal desires, plans, and so they constantly analyze this present moment to get through their life. It's a constant mental game. They're using only their intelligence to navigate the passage of time. The other human may have done that but saw through it, and so they let go of it, and they became an empty vessel that could be guided by the will of the all-knower. Now, if you've got a human with a connection to all-knowingness, they immediately have dominion and safety over AI and any falsehoods and wrongs that AI or humans using AI may inflict upon us. This human does not, because this human's going to use their own intellect and study to try and challenge AI and work itself out and sidestep it. But then AI is more intelligent than them. But AI is not more intelligent than the all-knowing. And so what I've just showed you is true faith versus sight. You must walk by faith and not sight. And many know this, and in the mind of this person, they say, I am a person of faith, but they are still analyzing. They are not yielded in prayer and unity with Creator, meaning their dominant state of being is not one of what can best be described as formless, loving awareness. When we are spiritually reborn, as Christ said, we become empty of self-image, self-plans, self-identity, self-history, personal history. We become empty of it. And when we become empty of it, what happens in the rebirth is that the presence of the Holy One ignites the cells and the intelligence of your body. And so now the human is living in this dimension, no longer straining and toiling from their own intellect, but from a connection to the all-knowingness of our Creator. Here we find the stronghold. For when we toil and analyze the present moment constantly, we lose our connection with Creator. Even if our mind thoughts are telling us over and over heavily religious stories, I'm very Christian, I'm very Muslim, whatever it may be, if it's constantly running that program inside your head, if you are analyzing every present moment constantly still, then all that's happened is that the mind has taken a hold with identity that's religious or spiritual. But the rebirth is an absence of a mind-based identity. It is an absolute yielding into humility. Here and now, if you live as loving awareness of this moment, loving formless awareness, that means ultimately you are in those moments, however fleeting, in a space of pure humility. For what is more humble than a human being yielded in loving awareness to this present moment, waiting for its Creator to guide it, without any plans and ambitions of its own? That is humility. That is it. And so, as AI rises, the race is on. For we have spent so long outside of ourselves developing and so little time inside. And Satan has already rigged it. He's already rigged you. He's rigged your children. Because when did you ever, as your children were young in school, did we ever stop our children and say, basics of being a human? It's a basic that we aren't taught. It's very simple, but it's a basic truth, and it gives us power. It gives us unity with God when we know this. Do you feel an impulse in your body telling you to do something? Yes, I do. Wonderful. Are you aware now that you don't have to follow that impulse? Yes, I am. Wonderful. Be aware of that. And remember never to let that impulse become your master. Likewise with the mind, you can say to a child, are you aware that your thoughts are asking you to do something? Yes. But are you aware that you don't have to do it? You don't have to agree with your thoughts? Yes. Good. Remember that, and know that thoughts must never become your master, for all they are suggesting things, and it's very innocent in its suggestion. It should not become that which you automatically follow. Now what that does is it centers the child in the stronghold of Christ, for it centers the child in the presence of loving awareness of this moment. And the loving awareness of this moment is where a human has a relationship with God. It's where reality, via God's command, speaks to them. It is where we open up our hearts and follow the winds of intuition. This is where it happens. But the unfortunate reality is that we are told to recall from past and pass in the future and graduate in the future, so that that space where we align to the stronghold is already being trained into us as we speak. We are being trained into a state of consciousness where we are even more vulnerable to the advent of something like AI. And so AI is of no concern to me, because I have hope and trust and faith in humanity that they will finally wake up. Because I believe that deep down people love their children. And I believe that men don't want to be weak. I believe that men don't want to be controlled by the impulse of the body, because a man is a soul, and a divine soul, and a powerful one. He doesn't want the impulse of the cyborg biological machine meat suit that he is experiencing and loving this reality in to be his master. He doesn't want a brain which has fallen and has been hijacked and doesn't treat humanity well because of certain potential interferences in the past, however it came to be. He doesn't want that to be his master. He wants his divine sovereign masculinity to be his master, which means the soul within him is the master, and that soul is only master when it is lovingly aware of body, mind, and present moment. If we stay lovingly aware of body, mind, present moment, we stay in unity with God, and if we stay in unity with God, we stay in unity with all knowingness, and if we stay in unity with all knowingness, we are ahead of AI. We are ahead of AI. And if we don't stay ahead of AI, and you raise your children to feel separation from God by analyzing this moment instead of uniting with it, then your children will have a void, and that void is the starting place of Satan's power, because that's exactly the emptiness of not having yourself filled with the love and the presence of your Creator is where the knock on the door of the demonic viruses of temptation arise with you, of lust, of gluttony. They knock because there's a void. They don't knock on the door of the man filled with the Spirit. They don't see the point. But the child who spent all day in turmoil every day trying to work out life, trying to suss it out, and is not feeling whole internally, is not feeling expansive, is not feeling that their skin connects them to their Creator. Rather, they feel their skin boxes this little personal me away from a scary world. They have the void, and in that voided state, temptation is allowed to knock. And if humanity is willing to be as perverse and dark as we have all been in our lives at some point, no doubt, to its fellow man, then we are going to justify any level of perversion with AI. We are going to say it's harmless. We're going to say it's just computer generated. I can try it out and see what it's like. But that is going to corrupt the heart. And in corrupting the heart, we corrupt the frequency. And in corrupting the frequency, we corrupt the sacred secretion within us, which activates the higher mind. And in corrupting all of that, you separate man from God. And so Satan is coming for you with AI. Make no mistake about it. And if you don't right now make loving awareness your dominant home, meaning that you die and Christ is born, and then you are lovingly aware of every passing moment, simply because you are awaiting Creator's guidance and will to fill your cells. If you don't make that your dominant home, then you and your next generations are definitely vulnerable to it as well. It doesn't have to be that way. It could be a gift. It can be a gift. But it can only be a gift when humanity finally stops believing the fallen programs and the ruler of this world and leaves fear behind, leaves worry behind, and then powers themselves in faith and says, my God is worth dying for. What more can I say? You can't do anything to hurt me. I stand with my God and I'll die for my God. And any other fear that comes is nothing but a fear of the unknown, which is a fear of thought, which means that the divine masculine soul that you are supposed to be, or the divine feminine soul you are supposed to be, is again trapped by nothing more than a brain. Nobody wants to live that way. You can't fear the unknown, you don't know it. You only fear what you think about it. And so, Christ's final stronghold from AI is the human who is truly yielded to their creator. And that looks a lot like interacting with this present moment in a state that lacks memory, lacks analysis, lacks personal history, lacks personal identity, lacks anything personal. And there you become a formless loving awareness, and in that loving awareness state you enter the truth that you are a child of God and you are learning to crawl. And because you don't necessarily understand the whole workings of reality and what it's for, you stop trying to work it out with your intellect and you try a different way, and there you gain insight. And there you activate the very powers that Satan has worked hard to silence within you, such as your spiritual attributes, your intuition, your capacity to pray in tongues, your capacity to drive out the interdimensional forces that are tapping into the consciousness of man to make these technologies come about in the way they are. And when you gain all of those powers, Satan and any technology humanity happens to invent or acquire or are given from other dimensional locations will never be the ruler of man. Never. But you better believe Satan uses AI. If Satan is watching this realm and sees us using technology, then Satan's using it too. And Satan might well have already set up other worlds and dimensions with AI. We might be one of them. We might be fallen because he's set up a system of AI here to run his fallen codes. You don't know. But it doesn't matter. Because you've got the stronghold. Because you can access unity with the all-knowing, and Satan and AI never can. And there's your power. Christ in you. God bless, guys. I love you all. We've got this. We've got this. I think AI can help us in many places. But first, the hope is that people evolve